Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Success is Complicated podcast. I am your host, Raquel.
And I am your co-host Sierra.
All right, um, the last episode we had talked about like death and sort of like the people that came before us.
Yeah, life is short.
Life is short. And this weekend we got an opportunity to spend a couple days away and celebrate a family member's birthday. It was nice. It was good to get away from the kids and
Right.
have some adult time. But I was inspired by Uncle Chuck, right? On this trip, just watching, one how life just can switch and change like in a matter of seconds. And as I watched them, so let me give some context to our listeners and our viewers. So we celebrated my uncle's 54th birthday this past weekend, and all of the uncles went on the trip. And one of my uncles, who's pushing 60, I was just so inspired by him because a couple years ago he had a stroke. And the stroke has affected the way that he can move about life. And it made me think about that post I did that one time that said, "Don't allow anyone to push you into feeling purposeless." And I think as I watched Uncle Chuck just maneuver through the streets of like Las Vegas on that scooter and just like figuring out his own thing, I was like, how important is it that we create and assign meaning for ourselves? Because we do live in a society, whether we're talking about just society or just like from a spiritual place, people are always saying like, find your gift and find your purpose. And as I watch like Uncle Chuck create his own, like, passing, giving people stuff out and just spreading love, whether he's here in Houston or anywhere else. I just thought it was just like so beautiful. And it was a reminder of what resilience looks like to me. That he's like, I'm not going to let this, like, it ain't going to stop no show. Like, I'm still going to do what I need to do.
Right.
So that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about, like pushing yourself into, don't allowing like society to push you into feeling like you're purposeless, because life is always changing, right?
Right.
And I guess the other side of that too is the minute that you start to feel like you are fulfilling your purpose,
Right.
I think that you could be probably limiting yourself as well. So that's what I was thinking about.
Okay, I really like that topic. It reminds me of that quote, like every moment gives us the opportunity to decide who we're gonna be.
Each moment describes
who we are,
who you are, and then gives you the opportunity
to decide
who
if
you
that's
want
who
to
you want to be.
be.
Because we can get so caught up on who we used to be and let people like keep us there, or we can step into this new person no matter what. Like, and I think that's what I saw with your Uncle Chuck. And
Dang, your Uncle Chuck. Don't you
yeah,
call
that's
him
my Uncle Chuck. I mean,
you said with your Uncle Chuck. Don't you call him Uncle Chuck?
I call him Uncle Chuck. But yeah, that's exactly what I saw with I call him Chuck.
Oh, you call him Chuck?
I don't know what I call him. I'll figure it out through the show. Like, I'll be like, yeah, Uncle Chuck said that, or yeah, Chuck had, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I like that. So this topic is inspired. I was thinking about purpose, right? I was thinking about because I think I've been on that hamster wheel too before. Like, you got to find your purpose. You got to find your purpose. Now, granted, following that, right, I do believe has pushed me to challenge myself. But I don't know, as I look back today, I don't know that I've ever been purposeless. I think it's one skill that I think is important to have is no matter what season you're in, You have to be able to like create meaning. You got to be able to make sense out of whatever season that you're in, because if you can't do it, then
that's where purposeness lies.
Yeah, that's what purpose.
If you don't know why you're here, if you don't know like why things are happening, you can't figure that out.
That's how I felt in my early 20s.
That's when you start to feel purposeless. You start to feel directionless. Like, I've definitely been there before, and I won't early 20s either. Maybe late 20s.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. But you know, oftentimes, because you always remind me of like the work that I've done, right? But I guess you would have to feel it, right? Because I don't know, when people say like find your purpose, like what does that even look like? Because I thought about, if I go back to Uncle Joe, I just thought it's about being in service, like being in service. And when I think about like what it took for us to be able to get to Vegas this weekend, like so many people served us so that we could be able to make it happen. Like my sister adjusted her whole work calendar schedule, her whole work setup,
her work section.
Yeah, her work section, like to come over there and watch the kids. Like, to me, that was purposeful. Like, her ability to just serve in that moment, like so much gratitude. Right. So I was thinking about, because back in 2019, like when I decided to pivot into like the coaching space, I had seen a post that was like, God gave you a gift, you better go and find your purpose. And I was like, oh, I got to find my purpose, because this ain't it.
I've been there chasing what a purpose is.
What is it? Like, if we were to try to define it on this episode, like what is it? Because I'm starting to think like it has, the only meaning that it has is the meaning that we assign to it. Yeah, that we give to it.
So I think that in life we can have like innate talents, right? Okay. I think there's some innate talents, and I think that a lot of times people will automatically say, you know what, girl, that's your purpose. Like, you need to be fulfilling that. You need to be walking into it, blow it up, make it big, and all those other things. But I think I heard Oprah say one time, or maybe it was like, you would never know your purpose, right? Especially if you're in service, because you're impacting so many people just by showing up, by being there. Like, and you don't know like what is given. Right. Like, we think we know what we given, and then someone say, oh girl, I saw something totally different. But I think our purpose is being in service, showing up, because you can't be in too much service, like in your bed with covers over your head.
I like how you said, oftentimes when people see like a gift, like some people have like this innate thing, and then you try to push it and drive it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
I do think it's part of your purpose, though. I think even when you have those innate talents, they can be part of your purpose, but I think
it doesn't have to look that way, because I think
like so much greater than any one thing that we can assign to our lives.
That's true, because I think I have an innate ability to like connect with people, and like,
I believe you too. Do too.
But I don't want to talk to 1,000 people one-on-one. Like, I have figured it. No, I'm serious. I have figured it out. Even though like I know like I'm really, really good at that. Like, that's just, it's like an innate gift, like you say. But when I think about like the vision for success is complicated and what I'm working on, it doesn't sit in just like that one thing of Quill just serving people one-on-one from a coaching standpoint.
But like I said, our purpose can be bigger than what we can put into words, right? Because when we sit here on this podcast, yeah, we're talking one-to-one.
Right.
But the impact of where it goes, who listens, what they pick up, like, it's so much bigger.
Right.
Than just like a one-on-one conversation.
Right.
So, what is purpose for you?
I don't know. Well, I'm gonna tell you what my mind where I don't know what it is, right? Because I was really on that train of like, it is a shame, a crying shame if you don't figure out what your purpose is. And I don't feel connected to that anymore at all. I don't even know if I'm like walking in my purpose at all, right? But I feel good in terms of like how I show up and like the work that I'm doing. But I think that you can put me in any work at this point, and I'll probably be like, be able to find meaning in it just based off of where I am. So I don't know what purpose. I don't really know what purpose is. I do think it's about service. But I think that we serve in so many different capacities, like whether it's being a mom, being a wife, like all of those things have meaning to me. It just depends on what you choose to focus on in whatever given moment.
Right.
I was thinking about, because I try to find a balance with a lot of things, right? I don't want to be too far over here, like, oh, Quinn and found her purpose. And then on the other side, like, I have no purpose. Because I was thinking about like when you feel like you have found your purpose, how limiting it could be.
I like that.
That for me, I'm not gonna say that it scares me, but with understanding that like I always want to be like growing and evolving.
Right.
So we always talk about like attachments, right?
Right.
So for me, what is purpose? Purpose is like not feeling like that you have found your purpose, because if you feel that way, I don't think that it opens up opportunity for us to challenge any assumptions or beliefs about like your current identity. I think you can get wrapped up into an identity that doesn't allow yourself to evolve into something even greater.
Right. I like that, and I like that because when I think anybody who feel like they found their purpose, like why leave? Why do something?
It feels like it would be a lot of pressure too. Like if you found your purpose, like, and then depending on like religion and all of that, it would be hard.
Through a season of burnout in your purpose, baby.
But and that's part of being human. Like we all get to the point of feeling like we're burnt out.
Right. That would be really, really tough. These new LED lights is messing with my eyes.
I think these lights are nice in the studio. I mean, my eye was already messed up before I came in here, but it's really giving. Woo, okay.
I'm like, well, I know it's gonna show the water in my eye, because y'all don't even need to have no LED lights in my eyes. Just be watering away. But we're going to figure this out this morning.
Right, I'm going to just act like my eye is not bothering me. But it really is. So I had started thinking about that, right? I don't think like, so on one hand, right, don't allow anybody to make you feel purposeless. But on the other side of it, like I believe to some degree, don't take yourself so seriously that you feel like I have found my purpose.
So one thing, Raquel, is I can remember I was telling you, I can remember feeling like I didn't know what my purpose was, and I really wanted to find my purpose. And I was actually getting a lot of coaching at the time. And I started being okay with like, maybe my purpose is just to make my kids breakfast right now. Like, and I guess the more and more I grew comfortable with like that type of stuff, I guess I couldn't stay there, right? Like maybe somebody may say that's so minute, that's so small, like how could you be okay with that being your purpose? But it was just being in that moment, like, and then watching them eat that breakfast that I made in purpose, baby.
And hope they don't complain about it.
Look, if they did complain, that they was not in alignment. No, but they didn't though.
So beautiful.
They didn't,
because I think that's important. So if you were to ask, like, now that I hear what you said, what is purpose? It's whatever you define it. Like defining that moment, it makes me think about like treat the CEO, treat the janitor with the same respect that you would treat the CEO, and I think that that's so important because it shows that we all have purpose.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to look like some big grand thing to where you have impacted thousands of lives or millions. Even though Uncle Joe, he touching everybody, baby. Uncle Joe trying to touch everybody.
Right. You know, I was thinking this morning in the shower, I thought a lot about grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we're gracious towards ourselves, it allows us to give other people. When we're graceful to other people, it allows us to be more graceful for ourselves, right? And basically what I'm saying is like removing the judgment, right? Because you're not really able to have those moments where you're like, okay, I'm okay with just like being in purpose of making this toast right now,
right?
Like, but if you remove the judgment from yourself, or what purpose truly should mean or really does mean, and just bring it all the way down, I think that we can allow grace for ourselves, right?
Right.
Because generally we treat other people a lot better than we treat ourselves.
Right.
We beat up on ourselves real hard. But when we, are able to...
I think that we treat people the same way we treat ourselves.
That could be that. I mean, for some people,
to some degree, I think that grace is very hard to give, and I think that grace is very hard to give to others because you got to be able to give it to yourself first. Because if you're judging yourself all the time, 9 times like you remember there was a quote that said your lack of awareness is directly contributed to your. I don't remember the quote, but just forget that quote. If you're always judging yourself, 9 times out of 10 there's probably some judgment with other people. And I think that I have been the queen of like judging other people before, like in a prior life. But baby, I'm good on grace. I know how to show myself a lot of grace, and I realize how much it shows up in other spaces. Even when I like don't want to give somebody grace like today, because I'm like, that don't make no sense. It's easy for me to snap out of it, but one thing that coaching has helped me with is grace, like for myself.
Right. And I think that grace, if you gonna be on this road to finding purpose, you gonna need some grace, baby. Because the word purpose, it sounds so great. It sounds so big, right? And if you are trying to fulfill this big purpose, and I'm not limiting anyone, right? Because who knows what our purpose is. But if you start out with this huge purpose and you can't figure out how to get there,
it's going to require grace.
That's like, if it don't require grace, it's going to start messing with your mental health.
Right.
It could lead to mental illness.
Well, you must have just thought about somebody in your head when you just said that, because you laughed too hard.
Girl.
You just thought about somebody when you just said that.
Don't ask me who did I think about.
Because it seemed too real when you just said that. I just thought about like the other thing too about like purpose. When you talk about grace, right? Like if everything is always happening for us and not to us, that's part of purpose too. Because if life is here to teach us, right? Then anything that has happened or has occurred, like you have to be able to show yourself grace, because those lessons are lessons for other people. It's another way for you to share and to tell your story, and so many people get so much from that. And that's another reason why grace is important too. Like on your path to whatever the heck purpose may mean for you, is because if you're not able to show yourself grace, you might not even be able to serve people in the way that you're meant to serve based off of your life lessons. Right.
Explain that a little bit more. You may not be able to serve people the way that you should because of your life lessons if you aren't able to give people grace.
Give yourself grace.
Okay,
I think
give
that
yourself
the grace
grace.
Grace starts with yourself. Because let's say, for instance,
I see it opposite, right?
You see it opposite? Okay, tell me how you see it.
I mean, and the only reason why I see it opposite is a lot of times I think it's a lot easier for us to see other people. It's a lot easier for us to see other people and judge them and make them wrong, because I mean, we we do it natural. It's almost one of those natural things that we do. So, but when it comes to ourselves, like grace, like if we don't drive the wheel, who else is, right?
But that's my point, though. That's why learning to extend grace to yourself first is the most important thing. Like this been my walk. My season had been. I ain't got no. I'm just gonna be honest. From 2019 up until I didn't have no grace for anybody. I'm just being totally honest. But my focus was not on anybody else. My focus was on like, well, you done made some decisions. You're gonna make some decisions. Like, how do you learn to forgive yourself?
Right. I mean, I guess it's what it sounds like. It's the walk of grace. It blesses everybody, but it can show up differently.
Right.
For me, I've definitely have learned to have grace for others. And
you've always had grace for others, though.
That I extend to others, it becomes easier to.
I really think it's to
come.
I mean,
I don't know if I
saying.
always had that damn grace for myself, because I'd be beating up on myself. Girl, here we go again with the same shit, walking around the same corner. But that's my thing, though. You
might not even realize that because you can give yourself grace today is much like the other part just comes for you. Because I always think that you have been really good at about giving other people grace. But with the work that you've done on yourself, like giving yourself grace now probably comes a lot easier.
It sure does.
Yeah, it comes. Well, did you give yourself grace after coming from Vegas this weekend?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now I just need to wait for God grace. I'm in a season of waiting on God's grace, because I give myself grace. I'm worthy, but I wait Jesus.
That's funny. No, so just going back to that, right? Because I think that, okay, let's just say a person is walking in their purpose, right? Or they feel like they're walking in their purpose. Within that, there could be a lack of grace for yourself too. Just think about if you wanted to do something else.
Right, that's why I said if you don't have that.
That's why I keep saying that the grace has to start with yourself.
Right, for you.
Yeah, it got to start with yourself. I mean, anything, just about everything starts with you, though.
Right.
Maybe that because grace comes natural for you. I think for other people, like that's why me and you are still friends, because I think that because you had the ability to extend grace, you were able to see some of the areas where I needed to grow. So you extended grace for me, because if you and I had been the same, we probably wouldn't be friends today. True.
I mean, you're making that decision based on you.
No, if you and I had been the same,
right? You're the only person who can make that. You're the only person.
If you had been like me, you think we would have still been friends today?
I don't know, because I can't be you.
If you were, put yourself in my shoes. You know what empathy is. Put yourself in my shoes.
But I will tell you,
yourself in. Why you guys can't give a yes or no? Just be black and white for a second.
Now you want me to be black and white?
Be black and white for a second.
Okay.
If you had been me, if you put yourself in my shoes, do you think we would still be friends today? Like if we were the same?
Yes.
Girl, for real?
Yes.
You see, you can't get past that grace part.
No, because when I do look at our friendships, I think that not giving grace, right? Like, you value our friendship and you're able to show it, like, in a different way. Maybe not a way that I would show it, but you show the value. You show up for the shit that's important to you. If it's
for me or for my friend?
For you.
Oh, that I think is important to me.
Yeah, if it's important to you, baby, you's all in.
Okay.
And I am important to you.
Okay.
So you have always shown up for this friendship.
Okay. Okay.
She got to process.
I got to process that. Let me stop, because I have given myself, because I've always just said it. She's just like one of the best friends you could ever.
No, y'all. When we were like 18, right? We was like fighting on not on Facebook.
Why were we fighting? What were we fussing about?
Girl, I have no idea. I said something and your ass commented, and I wasn't quite in a season of grace, so I kept commenting. But you know what Raquel did? I think a few days later she popped up at my house from college, like, because things that are important to you show up for.
Okay.
You we ain't going down there.
Okay, I can receive that. Mm-hmm. I will. So the grace does start. Yeah, because I think about our friendship too. Like, what's the purpose of this friendship? No, and I'm gonna tell you, because there have been so many different. There's not like one purpose.
Oh, it's been so fluid.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just not one purpose to this friendship.
Yes.
Like,
so imagine getting stuck in a purposeful life, like in the same purpose. Like, we've been the same people, but different people over the last 30 years, and the relationship.
30-something. Don't forget that part. 30-something.
Almost 40 years.
Right.
We've been so many different people, and in our friendship has taken on different, I guess, what do you call it? Different faces? I don't know.
Different faces. I mean,
right.
It's just a reminder of how multifaceted, multidimensional life is. Mm-hmm. Because if you would ask me what is the purpose of this friendship, I would be like, I still would say I don't know.
Right.
Now, if you go back and ask me, like, in these moments, like, even this weekend, like, it was different, because I'm like, girl, take my debit card. Take my debit card.
Right.
Take my debit card, because I'm not disciplined enough to be in this casino like this.
But I wasn't going to take it because you being took it back from me.
That's why I gave my debit card to Danny, because he for sure won't go give it back. And he didn't. Did I get my debit card back? I need to check.
I got mine back this morning.
You got yours back?
From Cliff.
Oh, okay. But it is. I think that's so important, because we have been friends for a very, very long time, and words can't explain like what this friendship means to me. But when you talk about like purpose and impact, like, baby, it's like we be tossing it.
Right.
All right, your turn, right. Your turn, and just understanding where each person is in any given season. And I think it's the shift. A shift too, because I even to some degree, because I had spoke about PD, right, and I was saying like the role that I played in her life, like, you know, the episode where you said like when you were on the highway walking and you don't kick a dog when they're down,
right?
Like, if I felt like my purpose was to have C's life look like my life, baby, we would have been stuck. We would have been stuck. Seriously.
Girl, you did not retract on that highway.
I didn't. I did not. But it did open up space for me to start seeing C more and not judging like all of your choices.
Right.
And to me, it like a different purpose. I still think that I can be tough. I can be a little hard sometimes.
Right. I got a thing for tough people. I like tough people. I don't like weak people.
That's not, you didn't, I know what you meant.
I didn't mean that. I don't like weak people.
What you mean by weak people?
Not weak people, but just go with the flow. Like, I like people that have an opinion. Like,
okay.
I like people who gonna tell it how it is. I like people who are like,
but I would say that
harder in the paint. Like,
right. But I'm saying that's not my I don't feel like that's my purpose in
our friendship.
Yeah, it shows up.
I mean,
it kind of it
girl,
shows up.
girl.
That's not my purpose in this friendship.
Shit, she be shooting layups and all type of stuff. Like, I'm just playing.
That's not my purpose in this friendship. That's not.
Our purpose is fluid. Our purpose is fluid.
Purpose is fluid. Okay,
Our purpose is fluid because depending on where you are in life, your purpose will change.
What do you say to the person that feels like they're walking into their purpose though? If purpose is fluid, what do you say to the person that feels like they are walking in their purpose today?
I would say if you're walking in your purpose today, go all in. But but have your ears open and your heart open. Because I think that when we give anything our all, it's beautiful, right? But you always want to be open to you always want to be open. I'm going to
bring this up on this podcast real quick.
What we bringing up?
I don't know, because I sent you this post and I want to talk about it because I think that this,
Let's get into it.
I think that this,
as y'all can see, my purpose in our relationship, I'm down for whatever, ready for whatever.
Okay, you know that the lady Jackie Hill Perry.
Jackie Hill Perry.
Girl, you know her. Hold on, I'm gonna show you.
I don't know her.
Yes.
I don't know her.
No, let's talk about it.
Okay, let's go there.
So you want to talk about? No, I want to talk about it because I think that I came across her page for a reason.
Okay, okay.
So Jackie Hill Perry she was.
I don't know whether to choke, sneeze, or wipe my eye. I'm like.
So let me tell you. So she's a pastor, right? She is a pastor. Let me pull her page up. She is a pastor, and in her early 20s or whatever, like she was dating a woman, right? She was gay then, but today she's no longer gay.
She's no longer acting gay.
She's no longer acting. Yeah, because she got married.
Gay.
She's no longer acting on being gay, but she's still attracted to women. But she says that God protects her from those sinful ways, right? So she's married. She has children. And she preaches Jesus's word, right?
Right.
And I would imagine when you're doing something like so close to like Christ, like that can make you feel like that is your purpose,
right?
But it makes me think about my grandmother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, my grandmother was a Bible stomper. If she thought you were gay, she'd be like, "When you gonna find a wife? You need to find a wife." Mm-hmm. You know, she dismissed that you've been showing signs that you were gay all your life, and to be saying like Jesus don't like that, God don't like that. But when I think about like my grandmother though, I think that her purpose was fluid too, because the way that she would just take people in, like she never got attached to, and I can only say this as an adult, older now, because like she was willing to open up her heart for anybody. And I think that when you open up your heart for anybody, like it allows for you to let God in, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I tell you why I bring up Jackie Hill Perry, because I think that the work that she's doing is great, right? Because people need that foundation. All of us need that spiritual, religious foundation, like if you're going to be here on this earth. Mm-hmm. But I also think that like, because they believe that like that is like facts, facts. I do think that you can shut out other people that want to get to know God and Christ, because now I feel like I'm walking in my purpose and I'm doing it the right way.
Now, there's going to be some people that's going to be mad at me, especially some Christians, possibly when I say this. But I saw this.
Some people feel like, I guess that's my point. Some people feel like their purpose is to be a Christian.
I saw this Instagram post. And it was saying like, do I have to stop smoking weed to go to God, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a pastor well, I don't know if it was a pastor or whoever on the other side that said no, right? And I honestly feel the same way. You don't have to stop being who you are to show up and
receive God
or receive his love or his grace.
Because you get it no matter what.
Right. If there's something that he is supposed to heal you from, remove out of your life, it will go. And don't be so attached to it going either, because he may need it back. Jesus was found amongst the sinners. No, I'm so serious.
He was. He was.
I'm so serious. So like that grace that we have for ourselves, however we're living, like God extends us that grace no matter what choices we're making.
Right. Right. No, he does. And I think that's why I say you got to get to know God like for yourself.
Right.
Because going back to Jackie Hill Perry, because
we talking about life on earth.
Right.
I know it's gonna be some people they gonna watch this thing and they go, but your afterlife gonna be
right.
But we talking about life here on earth, and if you are a person who's been trying to figure out why they stay blessed because they understand that God is giving and sending grace all the time. And if you can start sending it and being it, baby, them blessings, they be racking up.
They do. But let's go back to Jackie Hill Perry, though.
I thought I was trying to get off.
No, because I know you're trying to get off. Because I want to talk about it, though, seriously, because I do think that there's a lot with like purpose, though, because I think that her story is so powerful. And I think it's powerful, right? Because if you're on the outside, like watching, because we've talked about like living in your truth and like walking your own path. And I would imagine for people within the LGBT community, or if you feel like you're not supposed to be this way, to see her story is huge, right? Like for God to like change you from this to that, that's the part that's still kind of confusing to me. Like no judgment, no shade. Like, cause she says that he didn't necessarily change her because
she's choosing not to act.
She's choosing not to act on it.
And I think that with any sin, and I'm just going to air quote that.
Because God gives you the power to not act on sin.
It's his power, right?
Right,
because if we've ever tried anything through willpower, baby, we know it's difficult.
Right. I don't know, I was thinking about like purpose, because I would imagine she feels like she is, especially like, you know, her following count, like they are devout Christians that believe in her messaging.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it's limiting. I think that it is very limiting. Like and I used her because if you're doing God's work, I don't think anybody sit here and think about like I'm not walking in my purpose. Like if you get up on Sunday to go and preach like to people, spreading God's message.
But if God do something so miraculous for you, meaning give you the power to turn off your sinful ways, like
that's up for debate, though. Because you're still attracted to him. When you see him, like, you still had the thoughts, I would imagine. Like, damn, she fine.
Or Jesus.
Jesus. Because
what I'm saying is that, like, whenever you get that blessing that is beyond, just beyond words, like, you got to tell the world about it. You have to tell the world about it. And honestly, that's what I think she's doing. She's telling the world about what Jesus did for her.
Okay.
And honestly, when we think about the story of Jesus, that is how it's continuously spread, right? That's how it goes from generation to generation to generation. And the most important thing is that religious foundation, right?
Right.
And without the Jackie Hill Perrys of the world, we don't have, like, some of that can get lost.
Right.
Some of that can get lost. But because we all
like
know
the way
Jesus
that you said
to
that.
do big things
hold
in our
on, because
lives.
you just said something. I like the way that you said that. Like, Jackie Hill Perry does not allow what Jesus represents to get lost.
Right.
In culture, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that that's important because I love like what Jesus represents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if I could ask Jackie Hill Perry, like, what does she feel her purpose is? And the only reason I say that is because do you take like a Nikki, for example, and you sit her down and try to tell her what Jesus did for you and did for other sinners and tell her that she needs to change her ways too? And to me, I guess that's where I would say that the challenge would come in, right? Because I guess I don't see that as...
I guess for me in that sense, there's no challenge, right? I think I don't necessarily see like if you do not want to encounter something that you feel doesn't serve you, I think that's perfectly...
Jesus did it all the time.
That's perfectly fine.
Jesus did stuff all the time. You just said he sat amongst the sinners all the time.
No. But that doesn't mean that we're all walking that walk, right?
Right. That doesn't mean that
we're all walking that walk.
But to me, that's what I want. Okay, now you asking me like, what is purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
To some degree, purpose is sometimes engaging in... So going back with like, I think that like to walk this earth, to be with complexity, mm-hmm. and not feel like you have it all together is part of like purpose. Like going back to Uncle Chuck, like on that scooter, just trying to figure out how to get his backpack on his back. Like to me, that just was a lie. It was a lie, baby. And then still find a way to like serve people.
Let me tell you something.
Despite your stuff.
Uncle Chuck won't worry about how he was gonna get that backpack on his back.
We helped him.
Cause he wasn't worried about it. He knew that like it wasn't even a thought. It was bring this backpack. How it's gonna go, I don't know, but the backpack is coming. Right. He didn't think about all of that.
Right.
But
that's the idea of being with complexity, though, still. Like, what does it mean for us to be with complexity? And to be with complexity is to be with things that don't necessarily look like what you think it should look like.
Right, because in our heads, we don't bring that backpack because you already, like, you ain't gonna...
Yeah, somebody got to hold it. Somebody might have to carry it. Like, all of that stuff. See, but it goes back to like, if you don't even think about that anymore, it allows you to be able to serve him too. Because there were a few more. Come on, Uncle Chuck, we need to leave 45 minutes. We're going to need to leave 45 minutes for 5 minutes when the place around the corner. But that was part of being with the complexity, because you remember the night I was like, come on, Uncle Chuck, we need to leave. Sierra and Cliff, they're not ready yet. We're going to just go ahead and leave them. And he was like, no, we ain't going to leave them. And I'm like, yeah, because it's going to take you a little bit. It's going to take you a little bit longer, so let's go ahead and leave. And he was like, no. And then I was like, well, you ain't going to make it to the Usher concert. Like, we're going to be late for the Usher concert. And he was like, all right, and then let's go. And then it ended up all working out. So I guess when I go back to like, because a lot of conversations about purpose is wrapped up in like, people refer to like God, right? Especially right. When you feel like you start receiving you start receiving blessings. Mm-hmm. And I think that I think that there could be a whole conversation around what do like God's blessings look like if you're walking in purpose. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with the external things, like, you know, the money, the number of followers, the congregation, whatever you have created. I think it's an internal feeling. And I think that when you talk about the fruits of the spirit, mm-hmm. you're not at conflict internally.
Right.
So
right.
like, so for me, like when I hear Jackie Hill Perry's that's why it doesn't like, connect with me at all. Hold on, let me finish, because I'm getting my thoughts together right now. I got them. there's still
I'ma let
internal
you-
conflict. Like you're still at war with yourself. I don't give a damn what I hear the messaging of Jesus Christ and God, but there's still internal conflict. And I think that when you talking about like purpose, if we're talking about religion and in the spiritual aspect, ain't no internal conflict there, baby. There's no internal conflict there. That can lead me into a whole nother conversation about Jesus when he got on that cross, when he felt that moment of internal conflict, like why is he doing this for people? But I just believe that for the way that I understand God, when you really get to know him, ain't no internal conflict. There's no more internal wars with yourself. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. That's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents.
And exactly what does that mean? So,
What it mean? I'm gonna tell because we're talking about Jackie Hill Perry. It means that just because you say that you got a wife and kids, like
a husband, no, she doesn't have a wife.
a husband and kids does not mean like to me that's the internal conflict. Like every day the same thing, God helping you with. To me, that doesn't make, to me, I'm just being honest, that doesn't make sense because I think that life is always presenting like new opportunities for us to grow. Don't tell me 20 years later that you still attracted to women. Like to me, you still at war. You still at war. Sounds good, that's cute, but no, you're still at war. And for the God that I serve, there is no internal war. That's just my opinion.
I get what you're saying.
And find a scripture for it.
No.
I'm sure it's somewhere.
I mean, I would love to find a scripture for it.
There's
one. Because I definitely get what you're saying, right? And when I say I get what you're saying, when God is in the mix, ain't no there is no worry. There is no anxiety. There is no fight. There is no war within.
No,
right?
There is not.
And if for you out there, it's Sunday and I ain't doing an altar call, but for you out there, if you have never experienced that, like, go get you some. But where all of that is just subside.
Right.
But
I know that because I've felt it.
No,
in some of my worst moments, some of the the one choice that I've made to where I'm like, damn, like who are you? Who have you become? Like you can't tell me that I'm wrong, and I'm damn sure ain't gonna tell nobody else that they're wrong for making some of the same choices because I feel like God have like what's the word? Redeemed me. Is that the word? Is it redemption?
It could be redeemed.
Okay, like I just don't agree.
But
and you know, I'm going back to purpose.
I have an appreciation for the Jackie Hill Perrys of the world. I mean,
I don't appreciate her.
And the reason why I do is because it is what continues to bring people to Christ, right?
Right.
I have to be able to come with all of my stuff. Because if I gotta lay it down before I get here, then I can't, I can't.
It was laid down before she got there.
Well, I mean,
because they're not into women anymore. They don't act on it anymore. It ain't laid down yet. To lay down don't mean like, okay, I mean God gonna present another new challenge for you. God gonna give you another new challenge, not the same one that you got to keep on fighting for the next 20-something years. I just don't agree with that. I mean, that's my opinion. I just don't agree with it. Like, I don't agree with it. Like, if God removed that from me, I ain't got to worry about that no more. That's how I feel.
But
I do understand that we're human.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let's step away from the Jackie Hill Perry and let's go into like AA people, right? Meaning Alcoholic Anonymous.
Drugs too.
Right. I mean, they all get on the same plan. When, people, have you ever heard people be like, I've been clean for 20 years.
Right.
And but they would still say I'm a recovering alcoholic.
To me, that's
At
not a
20
reflection
years.
to like for how I know God and purpose, right? I think that there's a way to tell your story without recovering. To me, I just think because I've been there, I work with people, whether it be therapy and coaching, and I would say like one of my innate gifts is really being able to get to the core. You're not gonna be able to be with me for no 6 months and then still, or after 5 years and tell me that you're still a recovering addict. Like I don't want to hear that because to me it's a reflection of how you still feel about yourself. Like, I'm a recovering addict. Like, what does that recovering piece mean? Like, help me understand that.
Maybe the recovering piece means I still may have a tendency to. Like, if
but I would challenge it,
though. If I move
though.
away from this narrative that I am recovering, then I may...
That's why I say be who you are so that you can become who you want to be. And there is nothing wrong with you having like, that's a part of being human. Like to be with complexity is to say that, you know, like I've been clean for 20 years, but every now and then I might want to take a hit or I feel like I want to take a hit. Be honest. Be honest. Instead of giving me the recovering addict part, I want to know how you really feel. Like, I still had the urge to take a hit because I remember how that used to make me feel. And I used to feel good.
And
like, when say that.
So, but maybe that is the Jackie Hill Perry story, right?
Huh? What is it? No, I think it's wrapped up in shame. It's just a lot of shame and guilt wrapped up into it because...
You can't be singing from the hilltops in shame, can you?
Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, you can. It can look like the Jackie Hill Perrys of the world
or when you say shame, you're not necessarily shame of what I was because you're using the was aspect.
Yeah, what I was,
but shame in what I am.
And I hate to say because I believe in you also can't tell people who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But she acts on it every single day to me. She acts on it every single day. That's the piece that, like, if you're still attracted to a woman, like, if you look at women and still have that, because you don't have sex with them. But your thoughts are a reflection of God, too. That's why oftentimes when people say, like, change your negative self-talk, like, I don't believe in that. I think that whatever thoughts we have, they serve us in the moment. And if you're really going to get to the core of, like, who you are and like who you want to become, accept those thoughts. It's not about like rushing to change your thoughts. Like live in this moment.
Right.
Live in this moment because I think that creates this space. Because we always say this: force only creates another counter force.
Right.
Like it creates another counter force. So me, like while I respect like what Jackie Hill Perry is doing, and it feels purposeful to me. I guess when you ask me now, like, because we're talking this out in live, like, what is purpose? Like,
right.
Purpose is, it's fluid, right, like what you said. I think that purpose, because grace does not, like, purpose is you being able to show yourself grace in any and all seasons. Right. And you don't show, like, I don't think that grace is grace is not saying like, I didn't like who I was, so somebody else changed it. No, I don't like, come on back to the free will.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like who I was, so like, I wanted to change it. And I think that to me, like that God thing is like an excuse. I didn't like who I was, so God changed it. I think that God shows you what his power is, and based off of what you do, because faith without work is dead, right? Based off of what you do, he's right there to support you.
I try not to get too wrapped up in that, but
I think that we have to figure out like where our free will is too.
Right.
Like where our free, like, and that's the part about like accountability and being an adult. Like, my question to Jackie would be, without God, do you think that you could still do this? Because that is faith. Like faith, it's like being able to see things without seeing. I think it's much easier to say like, I got God, I know this, and he's the one that's carrying me through. But most of the time when people get to know God, they don't get to know God because they feel like he's right there. Like you have to act without feeling like you can't see him. You don't know what you don't know. That's the faith part. Like, because there are days where we feel like he's not present sometimes. There are days where it just feels really hard. And the thing that gets you through is your free will. Like you literally choosing.
Right.
And I'm not big on the whole blaming and all of that stuff. Like, where's the free will? My question to Jackie would be like, because
but
that's
if we are relying on our free will to take away to take away something like that, I think it's tough, and I think that is why
I think it's an excuse.
Addicts are, still addicts 20 years, still recovering addicts 20 years later, because if it's up to me and my free will.
I think you can't dismiss free will though. Like, free will does not mean that God is not like active in your life, but you can't dismiss like free will
until you felt like you ain't had it.
I mean,
until
I guess
you
the
felt
point
like
that
you did not have control in doing something that you don't want to do. Like, so I think.
And then what we just said, call God in to come and save you. Then
no, because I think you can come with your stuff.
Right, you can come with your stuff. Like, if you can come with your stuff, like, I mean, Jackie is a reflection of. But I don't know if
you can keep your stuff.
That would be my point. Can you keep this? Can you keep this stuff? Because if I recovered you as an addict, like, you're recovered. Like, that's why I think that that's why his promises are that much great. If I recovered you, you're recovered.
But when we
now, if you go back to it, it ain't because of God.
But when we truly get down into purpose, right? Like, if I recover you, right, and you go sit down somewhere, I'm gonna X that part out of my life, right?
No, it's not about Xing that part out of your life. I think that part comes with like you being able to extend grace to other people. Like, grace to other people. I'm not judging you because you look like what I looked like 20 years ago or because you did something. And let me tell you how good God has been. It's like fully being present. When I think, and it makes me think about, like, we talking about purpose, like the people that I like, when I ask people, like, what do I bring, like, in coaching sessions? What I always get is like, they feel like there is really like a place where like no judgment whatsoever. And I think, to me, like, that is like the God-like in me, right? Like, because I've been certain places, I'm not trying to force you to change.
Right.
I'm not like saying because this may impact your family, this is impacting this. I'm not forcing you to change because we want sustainability.
Right.
I'm not forcing you to change. Like, I don't see anything wrong with how you choose to live today. Because what I also I understand, like, I think that we all are inherently wired for growth. It's just a matter of like, what do you choose in this moment? So I do have the ability to like really listen to people and not judge, and especially because I can extend grace to myself. And to me, that is what the messaging is around. Like, Uncle Chuck represents that to me. Like, watching him, like, people can probably say 1,000 things that he has done wrong, like in his life. But he's chosen to extend grace to himself.
Right.
I guarantee you, he ain't gonna tell you he's no recovering nothing or any of those other those other things. And
baby,
you be honest,
LOVE.
He's LOVE. And you listen to him this weekend when we asked him why he didn't gamble.
Right.
He didn't go and talk about any like past thing. He just said, because that stuff can be kind of addicting.
Right.
So there was no judgment for how we chose to gamble or any of those other things. And to me, like, I felt that, but it wasn't like, because I'm a recovering gambler.
He didn't judge himself either.
Yeah, he didn't judge himself either.
He just chose not to partake in it.
He just chose not to partake in it.
That was it.
And that was it.
Right.
He never said, I'm a recovering gambler.
Right.
Because we know when he get on them cards,
baby.
But I guess that's why I say that I was inspired by him this weekend, because I think you can feel purpose. It makes me think of like, I don't care like what my life looks like. I care about what my life feels like. And I don't want to be at war, which is why I say that you can get so comfortable feeling like you're walking in your purpose that you start to feel
closing you off.
Yeah, closing you off. And you can feel a lot of pressure too, because if God gave me this, then this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. This is exactly how I'm supposed to be showing up to people. And to me, And
then you be struggling in the dark.
Yeah, you be struggling. That's what we talk about. Like people like check on your strong friends and all those things. Like I don't buy into that. I just don't buy into it. And I think that Jackie Hill Perry was, because I've been wanting to talk about it for some time. I'm glad
we got through it.
Yeah, we did. And I think she should continue like sharing her message, because like we said, it's gonna look differently for everybody else.
Right.
But this podcast is about challenging the way that you think and the way that you see life, because the more that you can be with complexity, the better off life is.
Right.
Just in general. So, girl, we're gonna go ahead and close it out, because this
and everything ain't black and white. Right.
It just not. It's just not. If it was black and white, then Jesus wouldn't have done what he did.
Amen.
Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to us yet another week. I hope that you took something from this episode, but if not, that's okay too.
No, I know we talked about a lot of great stuff in this episode.
No, we did.
Especially when it comes to purpose and people who are on a journey to finding their purpose. Like, give yourself some grace and just...
We talked about a few things within this podcast, but I think that, because, the purpose, we talk about, like, what does God want for your life?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of came through, too. But, no, we appreciate y'all listening in. I hope that you found value. If you didn't, that's okay, too, because you get to choose that Tabitha. What does she be saying, Tabitha Brown? Because I like her.
I don't know.
I don't know either, because I can't think. Anyhow, follow us at Success is Complicated, and we'll see y'all next week. We're out.
All right.